Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. First things first, happy birthday to Warzone. 2 years ago today, on March 10th, 2020, Warzone released. And obviously now we are in March 10th, 2022. And today, for that reason, for it being the 2-year anniversary of Warzone, I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to go back to the very first loadout video that I ever made for Warzone and take a look at what on earth we were using. What were we talking about right when the game dropped? What were the meta weapons of day one? So as we break it all down, as we go through all of it, if you enjoyed the video at any point, let me know by dropping a like on it. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, every single day I got you covered with all things going on in COD, news, updates, loadouts, tips. You'll find it all right here. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. So of course, to start the video, I had to throw it back with some old Verdansk gameplay, but this is actually the very first loadout video I ever posted. Call of Duty Warzone, the top 3 loadouts to use, best drop kit setups. If you don't remember, back when Warzone first launched, all the official blogs from Call of Duty, all the announcements and reveals from them called the loadouts drop kits. That's what they were going to be called officially. And then I guess the community kind of just stuck with loadouts, and drop kits was kind of tossed to the side. But if we go ahead, if I unfull screen this, you can see Call of Duty Warzone top 3 loadouts uploaded March 12th, 2020. So 2 days after Warzone dropped, we were talking about the best loadouts. Almost has 400,000 views too, which is kind of crazy. Throughout this video, I talk about various loadouts to use. I think I talk about 2 main ones, then I throw in a secondary to mix and match with some of them as well. But if I go through and skim through this, you'll see that some of this gameplay in the background as we go through. We're on PlayStation 4, so we got the 80 FOV. We're running a Grouse setup. You can see just how different the gameplay is. Like one single gunfight there. There's no slide canceling. There is jumping. There's no B-hopping. It's messy gameplay to say the least when you sit there and you compare this to obviously where we're at now. But I mean, it is a completely different game. This is also back when I'm using tracker as a perk. This is also back when if you actually got it down, that didn't give you credit for the kill. If you ended up finishing a down, then you got a kill right there. So you could just steal your teammates' kills constantly. But yeah, so if we skim through this, we can get to our first loadout here. And because this is so old and so early on into the lifespan of Warzone, I was sitting there breaking down attachments one by one, going over the pros, whereas obviously now we're more like talking about the gun as a collective unit, going over all the attachments. But this first loadout here is actually the Grau. Probably the most popular weapon on my channel. The Grau is one of those weapons that was constantly searched on my channel for months, because we talked about this from the second it was implemented into the game, and I was saying this is going to be one of these top weapons. And lo and behold, the Grau is one of the most overpowered and dominant weapons in Warzone history. But this setup we're using, man, what is this? Monolithic suppressor, at least we had that right. The Nexus barrel instead of Archangel, which, yeah, the Nexus isn't bad. It's the second best option, but the Archangel is just a different kind of spicy, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so we still got like the basic muzzle barrel combination for the better control, staying off the radar. The Commando foregrip and the 50-round mags also kind of spot on with that. Obviously, Commando is like the go-to for MW weapons. 50 or 60-round mags are also sort of interchangeable. But then we were also rocking no stock. If you remember back during the OG days of Warzone, no stock was kind of on all the rifles because it gave you insane mobility and it didn't really hurt the control at all. It wasn't until a few months into Warzone where they basically changed no stock so that when you go in and use it, it destroyed your recoil control. And then players sort of started to change from that to go to something else. But definitely an interesting Grouse setup that I probably would not be running today. Now, as I skim through this, the secondary I was using here, you guys can see, is an HDR. I'm sniping guys out of the sky in Verdansk day 1. Are you kidding me? Okay, I missed a couple of shots there. Maybe we should move on from that. But the HDR setup here, again, I go through one by one. This honestly was kind of close to what the HDR setup has been for a while. Monolithic suppressor and the pro barrel, like, yeah, we've been running that on the HDR since day 1. Tac laser as well, honestly, we have on a lot of snipers, like the HDR, the AX50, the car as well for that better ADS and stability and whatnot. Couldn't think of the word. But then we had the thermal meta. Anytime you were using a long range gun, whether it was an M4, even a Grouse sometimes, any of the snipers, the thermal meta in day 1 of Warzone was elite because you had an infinite thermal range. They could be over in Storage Town or at Superstore, and if you were in downtown on top of one of the towers looking across, you could see their characters highlighted. You could legit spot players at 1,000 meters away, which is utterly absurd. We also had a Stalker Scout stock on here as well, so like honestly not that crazy of a setup, maybe minus the thermal scope we wouldn't really see too much anymore, but Let me tell you, the thermal meta was something special. They fixed it pretty quickly and gave the thermals a range to like pass like 300 meters. You couldn't see the enemy all that well, but man, it was a crazy sniping meta on day one. I also went over the perks in this video. We were running EOD, Overkill, and Tracker. Like the meta in day one. For what it's worth, I think in the commentary I did say Amped and Battle Hardened were also very good. Obviously Amped is like the go-to for the most part, but hey, EOD and Overkill are still like the top two, that and Double Time as well. So we also had that right on day one. But yeah, Tracker, I don't know where I got that from. Then this is like the second loadout I recommend. It was the M4 and the R9O, which again, I was honestly kind of right about. The M4 is probably one of the most consistent weapons in Warzone history, still could use it to this day. And then the R9O became at one point one of the most dominant weapons as well because of the Dragon's Breath, but this M4 setup is a little iffy, I won't lie. We got the monolithic suppressor right, we got the M16 Grenadier barrel right, but the rest of this, Commando is also right as well, but we had a GI mini reflex, so a red dot instead of like a hollow or a VLK 3 times, which obviously we'd want to use now. No magazine. Instead, I went for the Stippy Grippy for the better ADS. So like I was pretty much just using this for medium range. But having only 30 rounds on there, you would never do anymore, obviously, unless you're like maybe playing solos. For trios, quads, and keep in mind, this was just trios at the start of Warzone as well. There was no quads, duos, solos, or anything like that. So it was an interesting loadout to say the least. 30 rounds though, not going to cut it even for trios. Little bit weird on that one. But hey, it got the job done, and I mean, like I said, sort of stood the test of time. M4 is still a beast today. The R9O loadout here is also questionable. We got the muzzle choke. I guess that's not the worst option in the world. The Sentry barrel, I believe, is still the best to this day. 5mm laser, obviously, because we're hip firing. So those two, for sure, you could maybe, you know, change things out with the muzzle there. But then the rest of this is just so bad. I had sleight of hand and I had the stipple grip tape, which for whatever reason, like we were going for obviously speed and a good ADS and sprint to fire there. But when it comes down to it, I don't know why we were going for that over something like having fire rounds on there when EOD was still, you know, being tested, and a lot of the other players were going for cold-blooded because of the thermal meta and whatnot. Having, you know, no good stock on there to help out with the mobility. Definitely not a setup that I'd probably recommend today, but it was working on day one. And then, my goodness, if I go back a little bit here, this was the final weapon I talked about, the MP5, which again, we know is one of the best SMGs in Warzone history. And I basically said in this video, yeah, you could use this with that Growl loadout with the HDR, with the M4 loadout. Obviously, you wouldn't want to use it with the R9O, but I was saying this is a good secondary to complement those. And I'm so far from the actual loadout here, man. The monolithic suppressor, which you could use, and I know some players do prefer that over having the monolithic integral suppressor, but obviously you'd want to have the monolithic integral suppressor on there. Now, Merc foregrip, we got that right. We were also still using the 10mm 30 round mags here because they had insane damage. Obviously the 45 is the way to go now, but only again 30 rounds, playing trios, playing quads was just not going to be it. Obviously now we'd probably have monolithic integral, a 5mm laser, Merc foregrip, collapsible, and then the 45 round mag. I'm also going for stippled here. No change in optic, no laser sight, no sleight of hand. I mean, it got the job done again. It was a good loadout for day one, but not even close to being the most efficient. It was something interesting looking back at Warzone day one. These loadouts, these setups, they were something else. I think that's the safest way to go about it, but like, the gameplay here is so vastly different as well. All the engagements are played differently. There's no slide canceling. We're stimming, but there's no speed boost. Like, man, I miss this. It's obviously nostalgia based here for sure, but Warzone on Verdansk, not knowing anything about the loadouts, the map hardly. I'm out here frying with the R9O. It was a good time, man. I thought it would be fun on the 2-year anniversary to go back and look at what Warzone was like way back when. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video though. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. If you missed the golden days of Warzone, drop a like on the video for sure. And of course, if you're new here or if you have not already subscribed, feel free to hit that sub button, click that bell icon. I got it popping up in the video as I'm saying it on screen. You know, some things I know myself too well, you know? But yeah, if you guys are new here, be sure to hit that sub button. With that said, that is going to wrap things up for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We got to get the win here, right? I got to scroll ahead. We got to get the win. And we got the W. Had to for the first loadout video in Warzone history on the channel. But thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, take it easy. Have an awesome rest of your day. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.